Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to do the CFS 6 months look ahead for February today. So this update will be taking us right way to August. It's just for fun, really. Don't be taking this too seriously by any means. 6 months is a heck of a long way away for one long-range seasonal model in isolation. So the charts are there, as I say every month. We might as well use them, but don't sort of be running away with the idea. But as we get sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 months away, that is how things are going to pan out. That's just This is just really a snapshot of how things are looking with the CFS V2 model today when I'm doing the video on Sunday, February the 15th, 2015. So, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on most of the pages that go have to browse through the widgets. And if there's any articles that you're interested in, please click through. You'll be able to go for read those articles. And because you've done that, Gas will get a royalty fee on what you're doing. So you're having to pay a website, but you're having to pay me to sit and talk to you via Gas. Thanks so much for getting involved. Thanks for doing that. Right, let's start off with 700 millibar height anomalies for the next 6 months first of all. And then we'll look at the corresponding temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with these pressure anomalies. So this is what the CFS V2 model is seeing in terms of the 700 millibar height anomaly for March for the coming month. Now, in theory, the closer we are to time frame, of course, the more reliable it should be. So there is some merit in this one. We've got the ridge of high pressure coming through the country, going off to the east and extending down into the Atlantic as well. High pressure well and truly in charge on that one. Correspondingly, we've got a deep trough of low pressure up around Greenland. The jet stream is going something like that between the trough and the ridge. So we're more or less on the mild side of the jet there. And we're at a ridge of high pressure, so it should be mostly dry actually. That's quite a nice looking chart for March. I think we're going to have some early tastes of spring, dare I say it, on that particular one. Now for April, it's all very confusing. Quite what's going on there, I'm not sure, but we see a deep trough of low pressure off the eastern seaboard of America and going back into the eastern United States. By the way, let's just go back to March and see what this means for the east coast of the United States, the east and northeast side of the states. And that's a milder month, I think, for March. So there's some moderation going on there with the high pressure sitting just here. I think we will be probably getting more sort of southerly, maybe southwesterly influences up in central, northeast parts of the states. That one, although this trough is still trying to bring cold air down from the north. But I think there'd be some moderation anyway in March. It wouldn't be a consistently freezing cold month, I don't think, on that setup as we see, or as we've seen for February. Now, as we go through to April, the trough is back into the east of the state, so that's not very good for northeast parts of America. It means a very delayed spring. It's likely that's a cold month there for much of the northeast of the states in America. What's going on for us? I'm not sure. The flow is going something like that between the trough and ridge in the Pacific. Maybe coming southwards into the east of the states like that. And then it all goes very sort of floppy, doesn't it, as we go through into Europe. So quite what's going on there, I'm not sure. There's no real sign of a ridge. There's no real sign of a trough. I would suspect we've got hints of a high pressure, a little bit of a ridge down across Spain and Portugal. So maybe that will be coming up in that sort of direction and give us a nice month. But I'm sort of reaching with that one, actually. It'll be interesting what the temperature and precipitation looks like for that, because there's not a great deal to go on in terms of the 700 millibar height anomaly for April. Now, things much clearer as we go through into May, and it's not great at all for May. We've got a trough of low pressure sitting just to the west of the country. Ridges up over Scandinavia, but this trough is the main driver here for May. So, yeah, that's an unsettled month, and probably not that warm either. Could be quite cool on that sort of setup. And I'm afraid it's a double whammy, because for June, the trough is still there to the west of the country. So there it is, sitting to the west. Again, the flow going something like that. So again, we're more or less on the cold or cool side of the jet. For June, we've got a trough of low pressure just to the west of the country. That could be pretty disappointing. Both May and June could be pretty poor on that one. Now, as we go through into July, a bit of a change there for July. We get a ridge of high pressure setting up over Scandinavia. quite how influential that is, I'm not sure. There's no sign of a trough, so in theory, the flow should be going something like that. We should be drawing in sort of easterlies, southeasterlies on that setup, but there's no real supporting ridge around the Azores. So what we'd probably be at risk of with that is pushing up some sort of southerly influences and probably some thundery lows coming up on that sort of a setup, because there's no real supporting ridge from the Azores high. So we would always be at risk of low pressure coming in from the south and west with high pressure over Scandinavia. That could be quite a thundery type setup. And then going through in towards August, and of course we're 6 months away now, so this really is in the realm of just for fun. Don't be taking this too seriously at all. But what we see is a ridge of high pressure still there across Scandinavia. We've got a ridge through the central part of the Atlantic as well. It doesn't show it, but I think we've almost certainly seen a trough there over country within the 700 millibar flow. So the jet stream is going something like that. I think it looks like it should be quite good for August, but actually, because of the position of those two ridges, one in the central part of the Atlantic, one across the north of Scandinavia, I think we've got a trough of low pressure within the flow, more or less over top of the British Isles. It's because it's summer, the trough isn't all that evident, but I think it's there between those two ridges. So what looks like it should be a good August there, or not a bad August anyway, probably isn't that great at all. Anyway, let's see how the temperature and precipitation charts go with this. So first of all, go through into March. We see an average March being predicted. A little bit surprised about that. I would expect it to be a little bit warmer than that, really, with a ridge of high pressure coming through the country and extending from the Atlantic into Europe. Notice how mild it is across most parts of central and northern Europe, but it's sort of average temperatures here in west of Europe, so always coolest in the west, warmest in the east and the northeast. April comes out average as well, so no real help there in terms of what's going on. Remember, for April I was very uncertain about what that 700 millibar height anomaly for April was really doing, and there's no help actually from the temperature chart either. It's coming out average, but then so is most of Europe. It's only sort of Scandinavia that's coming out warmer than average. Presumably, to get Scandinavia warmer than average, there's some sort of a ridge up here. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on for April on that setup. As we go through into May, again, average temperatures, no sign of anything really mild or warm coming up for the next sort of 3 months, for the spring, quite interestingly. We know that for January and February, the temperatures have been a lot cooler than at the same time last year. We haven't been cold, but sort of we've been several degrees lower than January and February 2014. It looks like this sort of more sensible, or these more sensible type temperatures are going to continue through the spring. So it's unlikely now, I would suggest, that 2015 is going to be anywhere near as warm as 2014. Of course, it could be, you never know, but we started off on a relatively cool note, certainly nearer to normal anyway for January and February. That looks like it's the signal as we go through into the spring as well. Remember, the spring update will be coming up at GASOV, is the final spring forecast, very shortly, in about a week or so's time. Now, going through into June, again, it's the same idea. Temperatures coming out a little bit around the average, maybe even a little bit below there for some parts of Western Europe, being still the warmth. Again, is through central and eastern parts of Europe. Remember, for June and for May, we've got an area of low pressure sitting just to the west, bringing in Atlantic winds. July also comes out average, again, a warm Central Eastern Europe. Western Europe is cool. It's not cold, but certainly it's cooler in the west. It's warmest in the east and the northeast. And then for August, it rounds it off, really, 6 months here, all with the same sort of signal, with temperatures coming out around the average. No signal for anything drastically warm, or by the time we get through to summer, anything drastically hot coming up, just a sort of average, normal type temperatures, and that's significantly cooler than what we had in 2014. Have a look at the precipitation, and this makes a little bit more sense for March. I would expect March to be a bit warmer, as I said, than what we just saw there, because we've got a ridge of high pressure coming through, and it's drier than average for March, significantly drier than average, not just for British Isles, but for most of Europe as well, and that's because we've got high pressure more or less sitting around many central western parts of Europe, extending out into the Atlantic. The jet stream, remember, is up here, taking the low pressure through up there. So yeah, this is about what you'd expect with high pressure sitting there. You would expect a drier than average March. I think it could be a nice month. If this comes off, it could be quite a nice month, March, with some early tastes of spring. Now look at this, we go through to April and there's no signal for precipitation for April either. Excuse me. So it really is a puzzle this April, what's going on here. We haven't got a signal for the 700 millibar heights. We haven't got a signal for temperature. We haven't really got a signal for precipitation. It's a little bit wetter for islands. So, and there's no sort of significantly dry conditions coming through. So I would hazard a guess that we're probably bringing the jet stream southwards and running it through. And it's going to be an unsettled month. But there's no great support for that. It's just sort of my trying to reach what could be going on there. We've got a little bit drier than average conditions for Iceland as well, so maybe there's high pressure there, but it's such a weak signal that you can't really read too much into that. That's just sort of my guess about what's going on. We've certainly lost the drier than average conditions that we've got in March, so maybe we're reverting, transitioning perhaps from a dry sort of start to a wetter latter part of the month. Very interesting about April. It looks like going to be a bit of an enigma. Go through to May and much stronger signal there. We've got a trough of low pressure just in western country, so it's wetter than average for May, as it is for most parts of Europe. So remember, the ridge is up here. The trough is just here, and the jet stream is going through something like that. So not a great May, cooler and wetter than average would be likely. June, not as bad. It's still an unsettled signal, but trough of low pressure is still just to the west of the country. A little bit drier over towards the east, but I think overall June is probably a relatively unsettled looking signal as well. Then remember for July, we've got the high pressure sitting up here, and I said that I thought we'd probably bringing some sort of thundery conditions up. I think we tend to bring southerly and southwesterly flows in. So although this high pressure is trying to bring heat off the continent, it will all be very unstable. I think it will be quickly breaking down into thunderstorms. So it could be quite a wet month actually, July, albeit quite warm, although the temperature signal was near normal. But I think it could be a little bit warmer than that on the 700 millibar height anomaly setup anyway, but it would be unsettled. There'd be a lot of thunderstorms. And then finally going through to August, before my voice gives out, and remember, by the time we get through to August, this is such a weak signal, it really is just for fun. But what we're seeing for August is again an unsettled looking signal, and I think the reason for that is that we've got a ridge up here. There's also a ridge somewhere out here, but I think we've got a trough sitting here. So on the 700 millibar height anomaly, what looked like a decent signal for August, it's not. The jet stream is going something like that, so it's really not a very good month for August. It would be probably quite cool because I think we're under an upper trough, and it would also be unsettled with quite a bit of heavy rain coming through as well. So all in all, the signal for the summer is pretty mixed actually. It's not looking like a great summer, but it's very, very early days. It's only February, don't worry about that. The spring, well, March is looking okay. We're going to have a lot of anticyclonic influences if this is right. So it should be a drier than average month. That should allow for some milder conditions to come through, maybe a few taste some early spring weather. April is an enigma. It's highly confusing. I reckon we probably start off with the fine weather from March. It's sort of breaking down through the month. That's why there's no real signal, because it's a month of two halves maybe. A lot of dry weather for the first half of April, then much more unsettled. And that takes us into an unsettled and probably quite cool May, going on into June probably as well. Beyond that, the summer not looking great, but it's 6 months away. It's just for fun, so don't take it too seriously. That's how it's looking for this month's CFS 6 months look ahead. Next month we'll be doing the CFS 6 months look ahead again for March, and that is going to take us, would you believe, to September, to the start of autumn. That's it for now, and thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.